Welcome to the Sweat Elite podcast. Welcome back if you're one of our regular listeners. Matt Fox here with my colleague Luke. We're a couple of days post Chicago Marathon where Luke lined up. We'll talk all about his experience. We'll speak a bit about the professional results as well from the pro fields, from the men and the women, after we check in with Luke to see how he found the Chicago Marathon weekend before I share a little bit of news about my current situation with an injury that's put me out for a little while, but that'll come at the end of the episode. But Luke, thanks for joining. You're back in Houston. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. It's definitely more mentally and emotional damage than physical damage because of the dropout. Um, and I'll talk about actually, I think a big reason why it's my physical is a lot better than what it would, thanks to the people at the medical tent that I stopped at. They were awesome. One lad in particular. But yeah, it's just more. Yeah, this one's hitting me a lot harder than other races because, like, anyone that's listened to this podcast with me on it, for as long as I've been on it, and I know there have been people, and again, shout out to those people. I want to talk about those people as well in this podcast. They'll know that I've had plenty of bad races. I'm bad, I should say as well. Caveat in everything I say going forward. When I say, from my own experiences, when I say bad and bad times and bad races, completely subjective to my own races and my own goals and whatever. I never want anyone to take away like, oh, you ran this time. That's not a bad time. Like, this is my time. I don't want people thinking like I'm shitting on their times or anything. Just, I've had subjectively bad races in the past, and yeah, they have not hit me this hard. This one's hitting me a lot harder than I anticipated. Part of it is because of the DNF. I've never DNF'd before. So that was that's tough. Like, when you do that, when you decide to drop out, it's like, again, I can only speak to my experience. It like, oh, it was just not a nice feeling. Like, I've struggled through races where, like, PBs have blown up and goals have blown up, and you're just like, screw it, just get to the line. And you get to the line, and of course, you're disappointed that you didn't hit the goals, but at least you made it to the line. There's something about not making it to the line that stings a bit harder. I'm sure that's part of it. But the other part, I think the main part is just, I'll explain it this way for those that are interested. I don't want to like get too into the weeds, but I'll explain this way. Good example, last year, right? Last year did not go my way at all for running, for those that have listened along. Houston at the beginning of the year blew up terribly, had a bad result per my standards and goals. Then, yeah, London was after that. Again, bit of a blow up, goals and everything out the window. And then, Chicago, the heat stroke, all that good stuff, right? But to to talk about Houston and London specifically in contrast to what's going on now, Houston, I knew I was taking a swing at my goal when it wasn't really possible. I should have done the half. And I think I mentioned before, I was about to do the half, and then I went on a long run with Mark and them, and they were like, "Don't be a pussy, just do the full." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do the full." And I had that like local elite thing, so I was in the elite tent, and I was getting bottles, and I was like, "I can't pass this up. Like, I have to do it. Even if I blow up, I have to do it. It's an experience." And I did, and it sucked for a bit, but then I got over it. I was like, you know what? It was worth the experience. I knew this might happen. Enjoy yourself. I had a great time with everyone after the race. Forgot about it the next day. On to the next one. And then London, not the same, but similar. My build up kind of on paper looked good, but it lacked a lot of the structure that I'm used to. And I don't know why. There was nothing really going on. There was no real stress. I didn't structure it as well as I should have. And it didn't go well. But then again, I was in London. I hate saying this as an Irish person. I love London. such a cool city. The race itself is amazing. I said that like this, I wrote my Strava caption like the second I got my phone, and I meant it. I was like, man, I'll be back. This is such a cool race, such a cool course, amazing city. Everything about it was so amazing, bar my running.
Mm.
Loved it. Family was there, quickly got over it, onto the pints, like had a great time. And that was it. And then the rest, is the rest. But this one is different, I think, in part because I felt like I had done so much work. I did so many new things. I did the double threshold thing. I worked so hard throughout the summer. I was really being cognizant about not getting heat stroke again, not overdoing it in the heat, in the build up, through the summer. Uh, oh man, I could go on, like, and I don't want to go on, but I could go on. So many stones unturned, so many, more so than previous builds where I had amazing races. And and then to have all that, and you just feel like, man, I'm clicking off, 222, 221 pace stuff in 80 degrees, like, and then everyone's telling you the same thing. It's like, man, Chicago, even if it is in the 50s and 60s, that's going to feel like you're in Antarctica compared to what you've been running. You're going to be flying. This is going to, all this stuff. And then you believe that. And then you go on and like we can get into the actual, the specifics, but to wrap up this part of it, like there wasn't a single, I think there was 1 mile out of the 17 that I did, 1 mile that was on pace. 1 out of 17. Every other mile, including the first mile, was off pace. And they all felt horrible. Like, by horrible, I mean like I felt like I was way closer to threshold than marathon effort. And it never clicked. And when that's happening, like from mile one, with everything that I just said, everything that you've done and the work you put in, it's just like, oh, it's demoralizing is the only word. Like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to take because I don't know. I have some ideas, but I don't know what went wrong.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
that's
I
the hardest
understand.
part. It's like like in to go back to what I said at the beginning. In Houston, I know what went wrong. In London, I know what went wrong. Previous races, whatever, I know what went wrong. I have no idea what really went wrong. It's hard to put my finger on it, and that kind of unknown it's kind of messing with my head a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to understand for sure because from the outside, your training block looked, honestly speaking, it looked close to perfect. Not perfect,
That
but
way.
when is a block ever perfect? You had that
Yeah.
one workout about 2 weeks out where you didn't quite hit the paces you wanted to hit. But then again, it was extremely warm that day. It was, I don't remember exactly, but it was crazy. Yeah.
I speaking of that workout, I do think in hindsight that one has stuck with me physically. Um, Ever since that workout, I did in pre in later workouts, those later workouts did feel like I had that kind of heat exhaustion in my body. I didn't feel strong, hamstrings felt tight. A lot of the same, similar, not the same because it wasn't as extreme, but a lot of similar feelings that I had when I got the heat stroke this time last year, post that workout. So I think maybe that had something to do with it, honestly.
Mhm. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about like the travel to Chicago, the couple of days before it, before we talk about what the actual race day looked like. But
Yeah.
when did you get to Chicago and how was your travel on the way there?
I got in early Friday.
Mhm.
And everything was grand. Not a bother. Got in early Friday. Hotel was good. It was like right on the course. It was like on LaSalle Street, for those that know Chicago. It's like at mile 2, or it's pretty early on in the race. So the blue lines are like right there outside of it. So that was cool, seeing all that. Um, it's right there at, what's the name of that? Is it like City Hall or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. City Hall is like right there. So that was cool. I'm right in the thick of it. Um, Everything went well. Went to the band. I was, going to like, all the cool things. Went to like the Bandit pop up, which I love Bandit gear. Ripping Bandit right now. For those on the podcast, the video rather. That was cool. Then I went to I went to the expo. Really easy. The expo's a bit out of the way though,
It is. Yeah, it's a bit
which
far
kind of
south.
sucked. Yeah, it was a
But then
bit
again,
that.
it's like that with most of the majors though. Like Berlin, it's way out of the way. You haven't done Berlin, have you?
No,
Yeah, so is
Boston's right there. Boston's
Lo-
in the thick of it.
Boston is in the
Um,
thick of it, but I don't know if you remember London. London's quite a way out as well.
oh, it is. Yeah, I had to get a train. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went with Sarah. You remember Sarah from the Euro trip? Yeah, you're right. She took me on it. Yeah, that's true. So whatever. Went to the expo. That was grand. Not a bother. Um, and it was around that time that it was actually pretty cool. I was like, it was like I said, I wasn't too excited. I was a bit worried. But then I started seeing people around the city. I saw some lad I ended up buying that singlet that Connor Mantz was wearing. Um, and the guy that was ringing me up, um, he like knew me from the podcast, chatting away to him, other people at the expo, other people walking around. Like that was really cool. That was, like I will say, like, I'll be honest, a big part of me didn't really want to do the podcast right now because of like, obviously feeling a bit down. But I talked to you and you were mentioning that like so many people that listen, they do find value in listening to like when races go wrong as much as, if not more so, than when races go right. And I thought about that. Then I thought about the people at the expo and other people like that were just like really support, like people I don't know at all, and like just really supportive and really, um, and so that's the main reason I'm doing it now, like, because like that, that was, that was cool, like to experience that and to like, just people that don't know you and all, and they're reaching out and, sending messages like that. I really, really, really do appreciate it. I might be awkward in person or in messages, and like it might not come across that way at times. But to anyone that is listening and that reached out, and like I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, really do appreciate it. Like that, it really does mean a lot. And so that was a really cool experience, and it made the weekend like it was like probably the highlight of the weekend. Running into those people and stuff, and so it was cool. Great vibe in the city. The what do you call it? The lakefront. Heaving and good buzz. Everyone was out in their Boston gear, of course, um, which was fun. I had a little joke on my Instagram story. I couldn't believe how much Boston gear I was seeing. Um, but no, it was cool. And then Matt Persick, he was in the Hilton. It's like where all the pros are and everything. A lot of people. So I was over there visiting him a good bit, and it was really cool around there. Like in the hotel, like that was where like the buzz was. All the pros were there. That was really cool to be kind of there, and you just walk by and you see like Career and Connor Mance, and um, it's it always, no matter how many times I see these pro marathoners in person, it always surprises me every time how small and how slight they are in real life.
Yeah.
I see them all the time, and I know they're going to be small. I know they're going to be slight, but it still shocks me every time I see them in person. I'm like, my God, that is a small human being, like just tiny. Like they're just so small and so slight, and it's like, um, it's wild. They're just all built the same,
You
you
don't really
know.
notice it because whenever you see them on Instagram or on videos, they're around people the same as them. So
Exactly, exactly. And when they're on the course, they're right next to guys the same as them. Yeah. It's but it's just wild when you see them in person. It's like, you know, if you didn't know about marathoning the way we know, how like, of course it makes sense. You're carrying less weight, more aerodynamic, all that stuff. But you're looking at me like, how are you able to smash 26 miles with like, you're just like bone and sinew, you know what I mean? There's like nothing on them. Like it's crazy that they're so, because it is powerful, you know? It's a powerful thing to be doing, to be running 26 miles, all of them at sub 5 minute pace. Um, and it's just wild to kind of like click that in your, like, how are you such a powerful human being? Like you look like I could just flick you away. Like it's wild. But it's cool. It's cool seeing all them and the buzz around there. Um, and then yeah, and the carb load was well and truly on by Friday, of course. And yeah, I think I was pretty good about it. I was doing everything that I said I would, like um, not kind of over analyzing I didn't have my weighing scales and I was weighing this and doing that. I just, going by feel, loads of drinks with carbs in it, lots of bread, and I did the deep dish, but I did it on Friday, not the Saturday, with Anthony Farmer, which was good. Don't tell Reem I said this. It was good, but it's still not as good as New York pizza.
Very different.
Oh, it's so different. Yeah, yeah. But you have to compare them. You do have to compare them because it's like those are the two big dogs, right? It's like New York and Chicago. It was good though. It was good. It was cool. So yeah, lots of carbs. Did well on that Friday.
Just quickly on that, because Americans will like this debate. I feel like with New York pizza though, like with the Chicago Giordano's pizza, there's only
That's
the
what I meant.
Giordano's pizza. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I only ever really heard about, man, I hope I don't butcher this, people from Chicago, but I don't think there's any other deep dish. Is there other organizations that do the deep dish, or is it just Giordano's? Because that's the only place I ever went.
No, there definitely is. There
Oh, is
definitely
there?
is. Because
Okay.
I was with Anthony Farmer,
Right.
and he was giving me the rundown of other places. He worked at another place that was
Oh,
not
right.
Giordano, and he was telling me about it. So there definitely is other places. I
What
just
I was
think
getting at
Giordano.
is in New York, I've had really, really good pizza, but I've also had like pretty average pizza. And I didn't really feel like you could compare the two, but maybe you do.
Okay, okay, no, not that's fair. When I say New York pizza, I mean top of the pops New York pizza.
Okay.
Like if you go to like what's it called, Prince's Pizza, and then like there's some other places that are, but then I'd still go average for average. When you average out the New York pizza places, I still think like I think you're hard pressed to get a bad pizza in New
Yeah.
York
So,
if it's like a legit place. But
all right, let's move on. The foreigners don't care.
sorry, yeah, sidetrack. So that was Friday, and I did it. Oh, I did a little run, a little shakeout run with Anthony on the lakefront, and yeah, I'll be honest. That's when I was a bit worried. I felt pretty awful in the shakeout. Yeah, I felt pretty bad. Hamstrings were tight, energy was bad, and I just, I kept tricking myself. I was like, "Oh, you were on the plane, had travel. It's not a big deal. You'll be fine." So I was keeping as mentally positive as I could. Like I really was. I was like, "Oh, don't overthink it." But in the back of my, like, it did feel pretty crappy. Um, I did some strides, and those felt a bit labored too, and so I was a bit worried, but only for a moment. I stayed as positive as I could. I was like, don't worry about it. You're off the plane. All the things that I just said. Just leave it alone. Um, and then Saturday I slept in, which was good for the body, and went to a sweat house for the cold plunge and the sauna and stuff, which I normally do, which was lovely, really cool. Enjoyed that. And then went down the street to a UVU pop-up, another British brand that I really love. Got some cool stuff there. Big vibes, big buzz there. Actually met a lovely Irish lad in the queue. He was there with his mom and his sister. it was his first ever marathon, like not just his first Chicago. He got in the lottery, and that was cool. And so not only was it his first marathon, it was his first time ever in the States at all.
Oh, damn.
I was like, man, this is cool. Like for your first time ever to be in the States and it to be a major marathon, I was like, that's kind of cool. So I was chatting to him for ages, and yeah, he was a lovely lad. He's from Kerry, which is down southwest of Ireland, really beautiful place. And yeah, just chatting away to him, and I was like, "What's your goal?" And helping out. And he was like, "Honest to God, just finish the thing." He was like, "I just want to finish the thing." And I follow him now and stayed in touch with him. He ran like, what did he run? 3:14 or 3:12, like something like. I was like, man, that's serious going. That's good going. Like, so yeah, he was buzzing. He was a lovely lad. That was cool meeting him. And so then that was that. And then what did I do after that? I think I just chilled out for the rest of the day. I was pretty good about not getting wrapped up in the buzz, if you will, like the day before, and being smart, like, no, stay off the feet and everything like that. And then met up with Matt Persick again and his dad for a little pasta dinner, and did the boots at his place, and that was it. Got in bed pretty decent time and all that good stuff. And the carb load again. I feel like if I'm going to do the podcast, I feel like I should be better about actually tracking, because I swear to God, I don't remember exactly what all I ate. But I know people are interested, so I should be better about maybe tracking it, even for the sake of the podcast, and I will going forward. But I was good about it, is the point. I know I was good about it. I didn't overdo it. I didn't feel like nasty or bloated going to bed, but I felt fully satiated. Loads of carbs, drinks, all that good stuff, hydrated, electrolytes. I was very good about it. And yeah, that was it, man. Really uneventful. No issues, no problems. Good day off, and went to bed just thinking, okay, just get after it now tomorrow. So then, yeah, the morning of, slept as well as I think anyone could.
Yeah.
The night before a race, got everything ready. Had the usual stuff, so there was like nothing new. Had the flat Coke, had carb with electrolytes, which was Morten mixed with Element. Carbs and Morten, Element, electrolytes.
And how are you feeling like mentally at this point? Because obviously the ultimate, like the end result was that you felt terrible in the race. But as you were waking up, getting to the start line, like what was your mindset like? Were you feeling pretty positive at this point?
At that point, yeah. Yeah, at that point I was. At that point, I had some stuff going on, personally, that I won't get into in the podcast, and all those other things. And of course, whatever with the training not going well. But I was like, you're racing a marathon, just like, shut that off and just get after it now. And I was good about it. Did all that, and then got to the corral, no problem. Like I said, it was really close to my hotel, which was nice. So no issues there. It was busy, but not busy in a way where it was stressful. Like everything was run pretty smoothly. They did a great job getting people where they needed to be. No bad lines, like nothing. Bag check was smooth. Everyone was cool. Everyone was nice. Around that stage, though, I did feel a bit like I was overthinking, like more, personal things and everything, where I was just like, oh, I don't know if at that stage, I did have actually a bit of doubt, because it's like, yeah, like I don't want to go too deep into this, but it's like, I've done loads of races where physically I don't feel great, but everything, mentally and emotionally is fine. And then I get on with it. And then vice versa. Everything, not everything, but a lot of things, maybe emotionally or personally is not so great, but physically I feel great. So I get on with it. But having both of them, I don't think I've ever run a race where I've had both of them kind of not go well. So that was tough. And I had a bit of doubts when I was actually getting to the corral. Now that I think about it again, and I'll be honest, I did have a moment at that stage where I was like, maybe you shouldn't do this. And I did genuinely think that. Yeah, yeah. I didn't say that to you. Yeah.
That's the worst when you feel like that. I think everyone, at least anyone that's done, I don't know, 10
Yeah,
plus races, 20 plus races, at least if
yeah,
you're very competitive shooting for fast times, I think almost everyone has been there before. It's the worst when you feel like that.
yeah. I've never had that before. That was new as well.
Okay.
So that was tough to kind of work through that because I've never had that happen before. If I get, to a race and just like I'm pretty good about zoning in and I couldn't do it at that stage. But I was like, whatever, you're here now, so just do it. And then um, I didn't see
Yeah.
Matt Persick yet. And then I met Jack Ahern, um, who listens to the pod that I know. And honest to God, I wasn't feeling great. When I saw him, genuinely, I felt way better. He's like so upbeat. He's such a nice lad. He like so easy to talk to. And that did make me feel like it did. I think a big part of it was like I was on my own.
Yeah.
I
To
was
see a
in a
familiar
bad,
face, to see a familiar face
yeah,
when you've been solo a lot of the time. Jack Ahern, friend of the podcast, shout out to him. We met up with him in at the Osaka Marathon,
yeah,
Australian who lives in Indonesia, who raced pretty well. He ran 2:41.
yeah.
Just I think he ran a very small PB or is very close to it. But yeah, he's good fun.
I think he was 1 second off his PB.
Oh, see, I knew he was within seconds of it. I couldn't remember if
Yeah,
he was just
yeah,
in front
one
of it or
second.
yeah.
Yeah, legend. He posted he had his phone with him and he was taking pictures in the crowd. And I was like, I remember saying this to him, I was like, you run with your phone? He was like, yeah, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I was like, do you ever whip it out like in the race for videos and stuff? He was like, nah. He was like, I might do I remember him saying this. He was like, I might do a finish line video. I was like, Ma, you should do it. He did it. It's him crossing the finish line and then he pukes immediately
Yeah, I've seen
on
it.
the
Yeah.
video. It's absolutely brilliant. Um, so yeah, no, it was great seeing him. He had a good race. And so no, that definitely helped seeing him. Then I saw Matt Persick. And then I was like, okay, like you just lock in now. And I was being positive, whether it was forced or not. Like I switched the mindset and and then that was it. And the crowd and everything, again, I can't remember if I said this. It was like really easy, really smooth, like zero issues there. They're really good about how they organize all that. So honestly, for as big of a race it was, I was actually surprised at how easy it was in terms of the time I got, like left my hotel to the time I got to the corral was actually a pretty small window. I kind of left it quite tight and everything just went so smooth and so quickly. So that was good, shout out for all the organizers and all the volunteers, like they were on it, like so that was really a big highlight. And then and then that was it. And then we're at the line, and yeah, and then we get after it. And mile one, like everyone had told me this a million and one times, so I was well prepared. They're like, your GPS, this is going to be the worst race for GPS. Like,
Mm.
no matter what race, this is it. And so I was well prepared. I was like, okay, I have the manual laps ready to go and try and lock in. And yeah, sure enough, the GPS was all over the place. And when I hit so I really didn't know what pace I was going. Sometimes it said 6 minute miles, sometimes it said four something, sometimes, you get out of the tunnel and then it corrects itself. So, it wasn't frightening because I knew it was going to happen, but you don't know really what pace you're going. So you really got to lock into effort. So I was like, I think this is a marathon effort. And then mile one came up and like right on the marker, I hit manual lab and it said 5:35.
Oof.
That's when I panicked a little bit. I was in a positive mindset right until 5 minutes and 35 seconds later. Then I was like, oh shit.
That's
That
2:26. That's yeah.
that 5:35 feels like a 5:15. Um, that's not good. It's not good. But again, I was like, whatever, it's mile one, don't freak out. Maybe you just need, your legs need to wake up, your body needs to wake up. Just keep it effort, keep it marathon effort. And so many times in the race, without going, lap by lap, mile by mile, so many times in the race, it was just a mental struggle. I was just really like, you know, just stay engaged. You might feel better. Kept giving myself the same advice that I was giving, peaks and valleys. This is just the longest valley known to man.
Mhm.
You're gonna get out of it. There's gonna be a peak, and it just never came. It just never came. Um, just consistently 5:30s, like no matter what I did. And I tried to push a bit. I saw that Ben Felton group. I tried to go with them a little bit, and I just hung for a little bit. But then they were kicking off 5:30s, and I was like, should I push ahead? But then they actually pushed ahead, and I couldn't. I was like, oh, that's I just can't. That feels like
Mm.
10K pace to me. And I just couldn't. And I just kept seeing these Nike signs. Nike had all these billboards at one part of the race, and it was like, these real, positive mantras. And I tried to be like, oh, like, man, I was trying to suck every bit of positivity out of everything that I could, and it just wasn't working for me. Um, and then I started, this never happens to me. I'm only going to say it because it's important for the race. The things that, you know, personally have been bothering me started creeping into my mind, like in
Yeah.
the race, which
Yeah.
never
It's never good.
happens. Never happens to me. And then I started to get down on myself, and then it wasn't great. But I was like, you know what? Get back into that mindset. Finish hard. Just finish hard. Finish the race. You're not going to get a PB. You're not going to get a time that you're super happy with, but get the finisher's medal and on to the next one. It's okay. Just try and enjoy it now. And I was trying. And then at mile like 14, I think, maybe, or 15, um, my stomach just started to go, and I stopped, and I puked like a lot. And I puked right in front of a medical guy, but there wasn't a medical tent. And he came up to me, a lovely lad, and he was like, "You all right? You all right?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm good." And he was like, "Do you want medical help? Do you need medical help?" And I was like, "No, I think I just needed to puke." He was like, "There's a medical tent just ahead, like just before mile 17." He was like, "Do you want me to walk you there?" And I was like, "No, I think I want to try again. I want to keep running. I want to see." So then in my head, I was like, bury it to the medical tent. If you feel good, go buy it. If for some reason you don't feel good, then go look. But I was like, nah, you'll be all right. And so my pace was bad, but I was like, just keep going. But the more I kept running, the more dizzy I got. I was actually getting
Mm.
like quite lightheaded and quite dizzy. And I was like, what the hell? Like I've never had this happen before. Um, so the closer I got to the 10th, I was like, maybe just call it quits here. And I swear to God, it was like there was this medic, this small Asian girl, and I swear it was like she was looking at me and she knew I needed to go in there.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was just in my mind, but she was like, "Come on over. We know you're done." It was kind of like that, and I was like, "Oh, I think I'm done." So I went over, and she was lovely. She was giving me water and everything and helping. And then I wanted to wait for a minute to see, because I thought like Matt Persick, he should be like so close to me, and I didn't see him for ages. And then I saw him, and I was like, oh man, he looks like he's struggling a bit as well. So that was a bit of a bummer, to see your mate struggling. Um, so then I got chatting to them at the medical tent again. Man, they're all so nice and so helpful. And they were like, "Do you want the bus? We can get the bus and bus you back to the bags." And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm not going to be able to run back. Appreciate it." And then there was this kind of like stocky Ukrainian lad, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I explained. He was like, "The bus is going to be a minute." He was like, "Lie down there and let me work it out. Let me work your legs out." I was like, "No, I think it's all right." He was like, "No, lie down." He was like telling me. I was like, "Okay." And he was, have you ever like gotten like work done, like physical work, and you just know this person knows what the fuck they're doing. Like this
Oh yeah.
person's like a magician. He was like that. Because I didn't know. I've never stopped at a medical tent. I thought they were just like volunteers. I didn't know like this lad's like a legit, you know what I mean? I had no idea. And he was like stretching out the hamstring and he was like, okay, I think I know what the problem is. And then he's like digging into my quads and like these pressure points like around the like all the, and he's like, it was so painful, but in a way that, you know, he's doing something positive. And he's like my head's going up. And he's like, put your head down, breathe, breathe. And like, it was so funny. And there was this lady there just laughing at me. And he was working away. And no, long story short, he like it felt way better after like whatever he did. It was amazing. And then he stretched me again, and he like knew he stretched me again. He was like, "What about now?" He was like, "It's better, right? It's better." You know, he was like really proud. I was like, "It is better." Um, and so that was actually, as weird as it sounds, that was actually a highlight of the experience. Like kind of meeting them and chatting to them. They were all really nice. And then got on the bus. They bus you back in this like kind of cool. It's probably one of the elite buses, and then you get on a school bus, second bus, to go back to the corral for the bag pickup. And I was on my own, and I was having a sulk. Then I was pretty down on myself, and we were waiting for ages for another person that dropped out, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. But then this girl Heidi, uh, um, she got on, and like it was like the same thing. She had dropped out. I can't remember when she dropped out, like a mile 10 or something. And then like it was like that made me because like I was like I could tell she was really down, like really down. And so I was trying to help her and kind of give her advice. And it was like that was kind of helpful in a way. Like all the advice I was giving her, like in my own mind, I wasn't saying this out loud, but in my own mind, I was like, man, this is great advice that I'm going to take none of, by the way.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you're gone, I'm going to have a massive sulk. But it was all, like you're smart to drop out, all this good stuff. And it was actually really nice chatting to her and getting to know her and, sharing, kind of commiserating together. So that was good. And that was it. Got the bags and then just yeah, went back to the hotel and kind of did some bits and waited for the flight and kind of got out of there the same day. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
How do you find the conditions?
Yeah, it's weird, man. Yeah, it was weird. Like on paper and like everything, it looks amazing. I was pumping sweat at mile two. And I don't know if that was because of me, because there's something wrong with me. But I was pissing sweat. And everywhere there was water, I was pouring it on me like no tomorrow and trying my best to cool down. And yeah, I felt very overheated. I don't know if that's because there's something wrong like with me or like it it didn't feel great. It didn't feel great. Um,
It was about 55 Fahrenheit, 12, 13 Celsius, and I think it was about 90% humidity or pretty close to it. So definitely on the humid side. Yeah.
yeah, it felt very humid. And when the sun was out, like it didn't feel nice for
Yeah.
me. Again, I totally get if other people are like, "Oh, what are you talking about? It was a perfect day. I felt great." I get that. I'm not. For me, like man, when I was pumping sweat at mile two, I was like, "Oh shit, this is also
Mhm.
not good."
Mhm.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I think had I felt well going into the race physically and or mentally, I don't think the weather would have affected me all that much. Um, but I think it was just a little bit extra to just finish off the nail in the coffin, the nail
Mm.
that was already kind of in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was a tough day, man. It was a tough day, and I'm trying to like be reflective and take positives out of it as best I can. Um,
I was really surprised to wake up. So it started at 10:30 p.m. here where I live, and so I knew you were going to finish around midnight. And I've been really trying to get my sleep in order, so I didn't stay up and wait. I didn't stay up and track it, but I had everyone in the tracker, including you, and woke up at about 4:30 in the morning, which I've not normally been waking up around that time. And I was really surprised when I saw your result, mostly because I know that you do normally grind through to the end, even if you're having a bad day. So I just thought there must be something seriously wrong for you to drop out because, yeah, first DNF, right? Or I've never seen you DNF before. Yeah.
Never DNF in any race,
Yeah.
any race I've ever done.
Yeah. And it's the
Um,
first race you've ever really thought that you feel terrible, like from the very beginning.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. First one. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to be kind of reflective and kind of, like I said, think back on positives. Yeah, I'm having a hard time though. I am having a hard time to really take too many positives. The only positive would be that maybe I didn't do the whole 26 miles, so my body's not as beat up.
Yeah. Which will
But
serve you well for, I mean, there's two ways to look at this. You're doing CAM, which is in 7 weeks, I believe, or maybe six, maybe 7.5 now. And, there's one school of thought to say that if you did finish the race, you've got that long, hard run in the bank. But then at the end of the day, you know, I think in your case, I think it's actually probably a good thing that you dropped out relating to CIM because I have a feeling, even though I don't know for sure, of course, because it's impossible to tell unless I'm in your ball, unless I can feel what you feel. But I have a feeling that you might have just overdone it a little bit in the build up, and that's not as a result of poor planning of training. I think that's just the heat tipped you over the edge at the very end. I think in the
yep,
last couple of weeks, you were
yep,
really trying to squeeze out as much as you possibly could, which is normal, which is natural. But I think those last few weeks, you were even saying on Strava, why is it still so hot? You were getting so, because it was into September then, right? And you wanted it to be dropping down to low 70s, high 60s. It was still in the 80s, still 25 Celsius every morning. And your final podcast before you started, you were not in the best headspace, man. Like you were like, I haven't really been very excited for this race. It's the least excited I've ever been leading into a race. And so I think what I'm trying to say is not finishing this race is probably a good thing relating to the next race, CIM, because now you can have a little bit of an easier week and then go again. Yeah.
yeah. No, I think you're right as well. To the former point, like that, I think I did overdo it. Which again, I had this realization earlier. It's so frustrating to get so close, you know, to get so close. Like if I could just around that time when I ran that, pardon me, when I ran that 10K PB and had a good long run that weekend, like around that time of the block, if I just if the race was just around that time
Mm,
and I didn't overdo it the next, couple weeks, I would have felt fantastic. I would have
mm,
felt so, so good.
mm.
Um,
So I'm keen to wrap this up shortly, only because we've been going for 50 minutes, and also I want to talk in the shareholders club recording after this about the taper week, of course, and then also what you plan to maybe change into the next block leading into CIM after a little bit of a break. But yeah, to finish off what you were saying, I think at least you can sort of see that a lot of people overdo it and they don't want to admit it.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's just what happened. That
Yeah.
was one of the main reasons, but it is what it is. And
Mm.
it's frustrating because it's something that I can't control. I can't
Yeah.
control the weather, so it's hard to, you think you're doing everything right with the cooling techniques, and then it just takes one session with the heat. Just one session. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Overdo it just a little bit, and then you've dug a hole. And
Yeah.
is what it is.
All right, we'll spend the last 10, 15 minutes of this episode before we talk more about Luke's experience and what he's going to be sort of thinking about moving forward into CIM. Speaking a bit about the professional results, as we promised in the intro. So, Luke, you were running. It's only been, 24, maybe 30 hours post the finish of Chicago. So you probably haven't had that much time to catch up on it, given that you traveled back home and you had work today. But Jacob Kipolino won the race in 2:02:23. We don't have to go through all the results. I'm sure people, that are listening to this podcast have listened to, either watched the live stream or seen the results. But we'll just make a few comments based on some people that we find interesting and other people I'm sure would. But his yeah, that was a PB for him, and he was on world record pace until 22 miles. I think where he mucked up, and I'm sure he knows this by now, is his first 5K was 13:58, which is 1:57:40 pace. So I'm not sure exactly what he was thinking with that. I don't know if that was the plan or whether the paces just yeah, went out a little bit too fast. But I think that's what cost him the race because he ended up running the last mile in 5:20, which
Oh,
is
wow.
2:20 marathon pace. So very clearly went out too hard. But I think this basically shows or it indicates that he can potentially run that. I don't think that's any news to anyone, not a surprise to anyone, but I do think that the world record is capable for him
Yeah.
to improve on that 2:00:35 from Kipton
Yep.
because yeah, I think everyone that's run a few marathons knows that if you get those first few kilometers wrong and you sort of get that heart rate up too quickly, that build up that lactate too quickly, it can really bite you at the end of the race. And we've all learned that lesson, at least people that have run many marathons. So I think that's only Kiplimo's second marathon. He ran his first one at London earlier in the year, ran 2:03:37, which was his debut and his obviously his PB. So yeah, to track that world record all the way through to 35K and then fall off, but you can really see through that last mile that he was really struggling. Connor Mantz, I really enjoyed your take on Connor Mantz's American record because everyone's posting about how he ran 2:04:43 American record by just under a minute. You know, we can go past the celebration of him breaking the record and everyone's pumped about it, but you shared a thought about something that's a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe a critical thought, which I tend to agree with. So, what do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think he could have run faster?
Yeah. That's my main criticism about what's going on. Like, it's
You have to
it's
preface
great.
this well. He ran a
Yeah,
PB, he ran
100%.
an American record, but we both think
Right.
that he can run 2:03:30,
That's my
2:03:40.
point.
Yeah.
That's my only point. Like, I look at it in terms of, what exactly he ran, etc. And this is what I mean, right? I am a massive, massive Connor Mantz and Clayton Young fan. Like everyone that listens to the podcast know that. I love what they're doing. Love it. I wanted him to get the record as much as anyone that's a fan of him. But to run 2:04:43 was a shock to me. He was in shape, in my mind, from everything I've seen, to run 2:03 XX or maybe faster, but definitely sub 2:04. And I think like, what he just ran Boston like 20 odd seconds slower, right? A pretty close time. And Boston's supposed to be this really difficult, tricky, technical course, all that. And then to go to
And,
Chicago,
and you can talk to this because you've run Boston twice and you've
yeah,
run flat courses as well. Okay, you didn't run Chicago well, but you've run fast on flat course. Your PB is from Osaka, which is pretty flat. And you can say that Boston is for sure at,
it's
at,
tough,
at his level, it's a minute slower plus for someone like him.
especially at his level.
Yeah.
When you're going that fast and you're that, yeah, it's very, very tough course. So when I saw that 2:04, what was it at Boston exactly? 2:05.
2:05:04.
Yeah, 2:05 low. Almost broke 2:05.
Yeah. So he's
When
gone
I saw that,
19 seconds faster over the weekend at
yeah,
Chicago.
when I saw that, I was
21
like,
seconds, sorry.
yeah. When I saw that, I was like, man, if he gets his build right and doesn't get injured and touch wood and all those good things and stays healthy, he's gonna run 2:03 or
Mm.
faster, maybe even 2:02. Like, that's wild that he just ran that at Boston. So when he came away and I saw he broke the American record, I was like, amazing. But what did he run? That was my first question because I knew he was going to break the American record. That was a given, unless something went wrong. But my first question was, what did he run? What pay? What time? And when I saw the time, I was like, oh, that's kind of wild that he only ran 2:04 high. And like, so that would be my only, you know, kind of, I don't want to call it a criticism, but only, kind of caveat to it because it's like, you ran so well at Boston, you're in such good shape. It just seemed like he could have run a lot faster. And I know, people will get annoyed and it's like, you're being too critical. It's this, that, and the other. And like,
There's enough
That's
people here deep down that appreciate a different view, a little bit of a
yeah,
look,
that's
and
just
it's
my view.
we're not getting
And
the
it's
right.
only my view because this is my view to professional athletes. I'll have a similar view when I watch, a football player or a boxer or a mixed martial artist that I like. I'll be critical of them because they're up here. They're the cream of the crop. And that's what's fun about professional athletes. You're allowed to be a bit critical and you're allowed to analyze it and over and all that stuff.
And
But
plus, it's boring for us to just jump on this podcast and just give him the regular praise of everyone else, right? Like
yeah,
we need
it
something
is.
different.
But also, like, I'm not just doing it just to do it. Like, I swear to God, I'm not. Like, I genuinely feel like he could have run faster per the training, per everything. People go to Chicago. What the two world records are there. The two American records are there. It's touted as this fast time trial course. You have all the pacers. You know, so to run only 20 odd seconds faster than he did at Boston, to me seemed a bit, a bit of a low ball. It was kind of like,
Yeah,
that's all. That was my only takeaway.
yeah,
Buzzing
fair.
that he got the American record, but I definitely thought he would have and could have run faster, in my opinion.
And can and probably will. Yeah. I think his only error was the same as Kip Limo's first 5K, a little bit too quick, 14:23, which is 2:01 mid pace. He did correct himself pretty quickly and went through half right, I think right on pace, even though I think he wanted to run 62 flat, 62:19, and then almost even split. He came back and ran 62:26, I think, in the second half or right around there. So, yeah. Interesting point. Kiplimo won $100,000 for the win. Kipruto, second place, 75,000, and Alex Massai for third, 50,000. Mantz earns 15,000 for placing first American and 30,000 for fourth overall. So 45,000 cash for Mantz.
Does
Uh,
he?
yeah.
Did he get an extra bonus for the American record?
Probably. I don't think he did from the race, but he probably does from sponsors. Didn't mention it in the post race. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's more of a sponsorship thing, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nike
Yeah.
probably get them. Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Another guy we've spoken about and we both followed, to some degree, Rory Linkletter, who went for the Canadian record, Cam Levins, 2:05:36. He went with Mance and went through halfway in 62:20. So, yeah, big balls on Rory because his best is 2:07 low from Boston this year
Yeah,
and ended up running 2:06:49, which is a PB for Rory. So that's a big result. Yeah, he's had a really good year, Rory. He switched coaches after the Olympics last year. Ryan Hall stopped coaching altogether and he moved over to John Green, who is Molly Seidel's coach. And ever since then, he's run a PB in the half earlier in the year, 60:57, PB in the 10K, 27:48 in late March in California, and then PB in Boston. So he ran three PBs all basically in 2 months earlier in the year, and then he's run another PB again in Chicago. So he's on a streak, man. He's doing well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He is. He's
Yeah.
doing really well. Yeah, he's another one. Good for the sport. His YouTube's really good. Really good on the mic. During the press days and all that good stuff. So yeah, no, he's very good for the sport. Yeah, that was
Mm.
good. Again, it would have been cool to see him get closer to. I didn't think he was going to break the Canadian record. I think that a little bit different to Mance. I think that was a bit too big of a jump. But fair play to him for going for it. Like you said, big balls on him for doing that. Yeah, he's in really good shape. Good
Mm.
going.
Centrowitz, who you were hoping to scalp, ended up running
Yeah.
2:22:40 for 54th place,
See
PB by 2 minutes.
that's why I said it. That's why I said I had a feeling he'd run around that time, and that would have been a time that I think I would have and should have been capable of. Yeah.
Mm. Did you see him at all?
No, no, I
No.
don't think no, because he started. The reason I saw, I think Ben Felton was because was he in the ADP or whatever, or the whatever they call
Mm.
it in Chicago, and I think Centrowitz was maybe in the elite.
Okay.
So if he ran that and he started, 5 odd minutes ahead of me, like there was no way I would have seen him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
To finish off the men's, Ben Felton, PB 2:23. Once again, Like I feel like the same way with Mantz. Like he ran a PB, awesome result. But when he ran 30-20 for 10K 2 weeks ago at London, I thought, man, he's on for like maybe 218 or surely two sub 220. So I don't, we're taking a slightly different critical view on some of these guys. I think Felton can run 219 is my point. And so, he ran a PB, he ran 223, he's over the moon with that. Let's take a bit of a critical point of view on this. I think Felton maybe went out a little bit too easy, and I think that if he really went for it, he could have run a little bit quicker. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I saw the PB that you're talking about in in London, I think it was, and I was like, man, to do that in a marathon build, like
Yeah, while training
you're
for the
going
marathon.
while training for the marathon, he was not even doing 10. I was like, holy, you're gonna rip sub 220. So yeah, the fact that he didn't, but I think this is what I think because I think I saw his Instagram post talking about it, and he mentioned a couple times how he's so happy to get the PB and it had been so long. Like I think he's so used to getting PBs in the other events
Mhm.
quite frequently, and he hadn't PB'd in the marathon since Boston 2023. If I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure I'm
Yep.
right. Um, so I think it was more a mental thing. He was like, I need the PB here,
Let me be
in
let
the
me be clear, and let us both be clear. If you run a PB in the marathon, regardless of what you might have been able to do, you should be very happy with that. You should never be disappointed with a
yeah.
PB.
No, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we're just both basically saying that we think Mance and Ben Felton have a bit more up their sleeve.
I think those two specifically that we're talking about, I think, yeah, Mance, it's very different runners, obviously, but same kind of concept. I think both of them have more in them. They should both be buzzing with, and they don't need our permission to be buzzing with it. It's, they should both be buzzing with the PB and the record and the this and the that, like no doubt about it. But I do think, we're talking about Ben Felton now specifically. He definitely has faster than that in him, based upon what we've seen, based upon his half, based upon his 10K that he just did. Yeah, I was a bit surprised he didn't go for closer to sub 220. But maybe
Because
he did, and that
he was
he
never
never went. Yeah,
never on pace for, yeah, I think he was always on
no,
pace for around what he ran. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So I think when I see that, I think it was probably a mental thing, just kind of get that PB monkey off the back, and then he might go for sub 220 then.
Yep. Lastly, the women's results. Look, we are a bit heavy on the men's side with our podcast, and it shows on the analytics and the people that come to the coaching academy because it's like 90% guys. But I will say that on the women's side, I listened to a few other podcasts before recording this, and they all agreed that the men's had a bit more excitement in this race, mostly because there was people shooting for records and all these things. But women's race, Hawi Faisa Geja, I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly, from Ethiopia, won. She ran a masterclass in a sense of pacing. I don't know if you've seen her pace. She ran 2:14:57. At halfway, she was there in 67:30. 67:30 twice would be 2:15:00. So she was 3 seconds negative split. Her
Yeah,
5K splits were all like right between 16:05 and 16:10. So it was pretty much a perfect race for her. PB by just over 2 minutes. Previous best was 2:17 flat from Tokyo earlier in the year. So, very good result from her. We're not too familiar with the other athletes that were second, third. There was a 2:17, 2:18 from some Ethiopians, Tanzanians, and a couple of Kenyan athletes in there as well. But first American was Natasha Rogers, sixth overall, 2:23:28. She went for it halfway in 1:10:43, but she ended up running a PB by 23 seconds. And looking at some of the posts, it looks like she ran with Centrowitz for a lot of the way, and Centrowitz just kicked on at the end. So yeah, good result from Rogers. And you called out Dakota previously, Dakota Lindworm. Now we can't say her name, Poffin. So she ended up running 2:24:21, even though by looking at her build up leading in, we thought she was maybe even going to go for that American record, but she never did. She went out in 70:26, which would be just sub 2:21 pace, and she fell off. And her Strava, she said, took a big swing and mechanically fell apart. A lot of wins and losses here. So yeah, she was seventh place in 2:24:21. Yeah.
but that's not a PB for her either, is it?
Not sure. I think she ran 2:24 in Chicago a couple of years ago when I ran it. So it must be very close. Yeah.
Gotta be close. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I saw hers, and again, I was I was surprised by that too. Yeah, I definitely thought she had sub 220 in her based on the training, based on everything.
And based on that
Um,
half marathon she ran as well in the lead up.
yeah, yeah, all the things that we talked about. Um, yeah, man, I swear to God, I take zero joy in this, but it does look like a lot of people had like a lot of people had a bad day, but most people had like a how would I put it? A below potential day.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people. Um, and man, who knows why?
Mm.
Uh, yeah, it was a
I
weird. It
think
was a weird.
yeah, the only things you can really point to are weather. I think the weather wasn't perfect, even though Mance did run super well and there was some good results. But yeah, I think it was a little bit humid and a little bit warm for some, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I must say we had quite a lot of I must give the coaching academy a bit of a plug because we had quite a few people run massive PBs, which is cool. But then again, we had also a few people that struggled a bit towards the end as well. So bit of a mixed bag. But we had out of the 8 athletes that I coached, we had I think it was five PBs, and some of them were 5+ minutes. So I was pretty stoked about that, giving the
oh,
coaching a
lovely.
bit of a plug. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyway, we'll wrap this episode up and switch over to the Shareholders Club. If you want to join us over there, it is a Supporters Club podcast. Really appreciate it. We had after your little stitch up last week of the people that say they can't afford it. We had a bit of a rush of people join. I think we had quite a few people join. So thank you to the people that did join last week and that continue to support the brand and listen to the podcast over there. You can join us by heading to sweatelite.co/shareholders. The link is in the description of this podcast or this YouTube episode, and that will give you access to the Discord channel where you can ask questions to other members and also to us. I'd get back to people normally within a day or two, and access the other podcasts. And in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Luke's taper week and a little bit more about where his head's at leading into CIM. And I'm going to share a bit more about the injury that has put me out for at least 2 months, of which I feel divided about. I feel a little bit embarrassed about because I got back to shape very, very quickly. The physio that I've been seeing doesn't necessarily think I overdid the build up, even though some might disagree with that, as in just getting back into it. But I have an injury that's put me out for a while, but I'll talk about it over on the other podcast and what the plan is moving forward. But thanks everyone for listening in. We'll speak to you all next week on this podcast, and I hope that you'll consider joining us over on the Shareholders Club.